Mindset, a daily dose of practical wit and wisdom with a professional educator and trainer, Amazon best-selling author, United States Marine, television and radio host, Paul G. Markle. Each episode will focus on positive and productive ways to strengthen your mindset and help you improve your relationships, career goals, and overall well-being. Please welcome your host, Paul G. Markle.
Alrighty, here we go again. Thank you, of course, to Pop Evil and my friend Matt for that fantastic intro music that gets us going, gets us pumped up every morning. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted for the Morning Mindset podcast. I didn't want anything mellow. I wanted something that would get you pumped up, get your blood moving, get you ready for a new day. All right. You may have read the title of this before you hit play. Beware of the C students. And you're like, the C students? Yeah, you know, like when you're in school and you get grades, A, B, C, D, F. You know something strange? How did we skip E and go to F? And you're like, F stands for failure. I understand that. But the other letters don't stand for anything. You're like, well, A stands for awesome. And B stands for bravo. When I was in kindergarten, I'm going to take you back, way back. I remember bringing home report cards because I saw my parents save my report cards throughout the years, and I saw my kindergarten report cards, and you had stars and hearts and like smiley faces and all kinds of weird stuff. And then I went to first grade, and when I was in first grade, they actually used an A through E system. Yeah, you're like, no, just a lie. And no, my parents saved the report cards, and A was the best grade and E was a failing grade. But let's talk about C students. What is a C student? Is a C student the absolute worst? No, they're not. Is a C student the absolute best? No. A C student is somebody that does just enough to get by. Now, you could say, you could argue the fact that, well, a D student, if you get a D plus, like Tommy Boy did there, you still pass, even though it was a D. But let's just talk about C students. Let's talk about people who they don't really want to excel. They're not trying to be the best. But they don't want to fail either, so they just do enough to get by. The underachievers of life. Now, why should you be aware of them? Well, if you are listening to this podcast, if you are a fan of this show, if you read books about bettering yourself, if you have gone to training classes or schools or seminars, if you've decided that you are not going to settle for average, and maybe you're going to venture out and you're going to try something new. Whatever that new thing is, I don't know. Could be motorcycle riding or playing an instrument, or maybe you're going to try for a different job, or you're going to attempt to change career fields or whatever. You're going to take a risk. You're going to go out there. You're going to do something new, something different. What do we encounter? And I would be extremely surprised if you do not encounter these people in your life. The C students and the underachievers that are perfectly satisfied to be mediocre. But the problem with the C student and the underachiever is that they can be very, very happy and intellectually, pleased with themselves. They're psychologically comfortable being underachievers and being C students, as long as they're not around other people who are attempting to do more or to do better or to achieve more. You see, the C student and the underachiever doesn't hang out with the A and B kids or the A and B people or the overachievers or what have you, because why? Because they feel bad. Because the C student and the underachiever, they know, at the end of the day, or when they look in the mirror, they know that they're doing just enough to get by. They're not in the poorhouse and they're not failing, but they're not really excelling either. They're doing that bare minimum, just enough to stay off the radar and, get by. And that's fine with them. And they can be psychologically comfortable with that until they run into you or someone else who has motivation and drive and is trying very hard to be an A student, trying to do something more with their lives, trying to achieve, trying to do something different and beneficial. And when the C student sees that, when the underachiever, when they encounter you, well, it kind of like shines the light on their averageness, on their mediocrity. And they don't like that. And so what C students and underachievers will do is they will say to you things like, why are you working so hard? Why are you trying to work so hard? They will convince you, or they will attempt to convince you, that you can't do something. You can't, and you shouldn't even try. Well, and mediocre, excuse me, and the underachievers, they will say to you things like, if you do that, there's this chance or percentage of failure. Why would you risk? Why would you risk your good job? Why would you risk your career? Why would you do any of that when it's not a guarantee? What if you try and you fail? Are you prepared for that? What if you try that business and the business doesn't succeed? Well, then you're a failure. No, you're not necessarily a failure. You just start again. You do it again. You see, the mediocre, or they will criticize, I forgot about this part, or the C student or the underachiever will see what you're doing, and then they will pick it apart. They will find little problems with what you're doing. To what? And you say, Paul, this is really psychologically twisted. Yeah, it is psychologically twisted, but it is a very genuine and real situation. It is a reality of the world that we live in. Often you will try it. And why do people not attempt to achieve? Why do people, stay where they are? They're not necessarily happy, and they decide, I'm going to try something new. And it may be family members. Some of your family members may be C students. Your friends or coworkers may be C students. And you tell them, you're like, I've got this idea. I've got an idea. Now, like I said before, I did this before. If you tell your wife or your parents, you're like, I've got a great idea. I'm going to go out tomorrow and start a VCR repair shop. Now, if they love you, they'll say, that's probably not a great idea, and here's why. That's not being an underachiever. That's being realistic and practical. But have you told people, I have this dream or this desire, or I'm going to do this? And the first thing out of their mouth is to tell you why it's a bad idea and why you can't, why you shouldn't try, and they'll throw all these statistics about failure and so forth. You know why they can do that? Because that's how they lead their lives. That's how they live their lives. They don't attempt to achieve because they've already decided that if they do or they try, they're going to fail, so why bother? What kind of a world would we live in if everyone decided to settle and be a C student? Look at all the technological marvels that we have every day, that you use every day. All right, the phone or the tablet or the iPad that you're using to listen to this show is a technological marvel, and it didn't become that way. It didn't happen because people thought, why even try? Stop listening to the C students. Stop taking the advice of the underachiever, and stop allowing people to talk you out of success. Everyone has choices to make in their lives. Some people have made the choice to do the absolute minimum that they need to get by. And that's fine. You're well within your rights to do the minimum to get by. But what happens is when those people see you and and you talk to them, or they encounter you and you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, and they're like, no, why are you going to do that? Why are you going to work so hard? Why are you going to work harder than you have to? How many times have you heard that? Dude, you're working harder than you have to. You shouldn't. No one expects you to work that hard. No one expects you to achieve. No one expects you. Maybe you expect it from yourself. Maybe you should expect it from yourself. The next time that you're feeling motivated, that you feel like you're going to try something new, that you're going to venture out, that you're going to expand your knowledge base or your skill base, and someone tells you, don't try. That person is an underachiever. They're a C student. They've already settled, and they want you to be the same way. Nod your head or smile or whatever, but don't take their advice. Don't let the C students, don't let the underachievers bring you down or keep you down. You're better than that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for being a part of the Morning Mindset Podcast audience. Thank you for sharing this with other people, letting people know about it. Maybe you have friends or family or coworkers that you feel like could benefit from it. And as I said before, we do have an actual website. If you feel like doing that, go to morningmindsetpodcast.com. I am your host, Paul Markle, and I will talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for spending time with us today. To get show notes, submit a topic request, and for more from your host, Paul G. Markle, visit morningmindsetpodcast.com. That's morningmindsetpodcast.com. Please leave a review for this podcast on your favorite podcast player. We appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to reading your honest feedback.